The Decemberists, as it ever was, so it will be again. Album review, let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from Portland-based indie rock and indie folk back, the Decemberists. They have been at it since the early 2000s, and in those days they were a standout band for me. They were a band that made me sort of appreciate a lot of the more indie sounds that were around at the time. I mean, albums like Castaways and Cutouts and Her Majesty the Decemberists. These were very quirky, eccentric folk records that often drifted off into sea shanties, but they had this eccentric nature down to a T, and a lot of this just came off really fresh and interesting. They continued to push themselves with albums like Picaresque and probably their biggest album, The Crane Wife, where they just continued to dive deeper and deeper into very grandiose literary themes and come out with very much thinking man's indie folk, but it was also matched with the band's eclecticism. Not only that, but they had the charisma to match it. Now, ever since I feel like fans have been kind of giving the band a little bit of a hard time, most of it which I personally am giving them a hard time too for, but then I hear albums like The Hazards of Love, which, yes, were a big leap for the band, but like with where the band is going, is it really that bad? Plus, the storytelling and performances on this album are really, genuinely some of their most electrifying. Now, since then, however, I will agree the Decemberists do have a little explaining to do. The King is Dead, arguably, it's got some of their most iconic and most successful material. Got them some Grammy nods, which, you know, good for them. However, the album, to me, is just way, way, way too clean. Their follow-up, What a Terrible World, What a Beautiful World, I had the same feelings on. Once again, just way too sanitary. All of the band's charisma and charm just seem to flow out the window. There are okay moments on here, but it's such a crapshoot, I don't even think it's worth it. And the synth pop inspired I'll Be Your Girl, which from a distance, you know, it excited me because, hey, we're getting a new sort of sound from the Decemberists. I thought that it was just a little too late. Now, this is their first album in 6 years. It's been quite some time since we've heard from them, and I don't know why, but I figured I should go into this album a little fresh, and I've done just that. Burial Ground starts this album off, and since this album's release, this track has grown on me quite a bit. At first, I thought it was a little bit too straightforward, but honestly, that might be the best thing about it. There's something about this track that is so incredibly, you know, rustic, so stripped down. This is the Decemberists really stripping things down to basic. The backing vocals and horns are really nice. It's a lot of the reasons that I initially gravitated towards the band. And James Mercer is on this track too. He's sounding good, sounding a whole lot better than that last Shins album. Still not over it. I have a lot of the same feelings on Oh No. As far as a single goes, this is easily the track that I've enjoyed the most here. This to me is really impressive at this stage in their career. The theatrical performances, the eccentricities, they are back. I love the warm rhythms. I love how full of life this track is. Love Colin's performance as well. I mean, where the hell has all this been? I haven't heard a lot of these instances since, like, The Crane Wife. As a matter of fact, as far as Colin Malloy goes on this record, I haven't heard him this loose sounding in years. Yeah, it's a great track, as is The Reapers. As far as a deep cut goes, this is definitely a standout, especially with just how dark and mysterious this track gets. Not only that, but we are seeing the return of so much drama on this album. I mean, yes, it's not perfect, but a lot of this record is rubbing me the right way. It's hypnotic as hell. It is so incredibly detailed, and I'm having fun. I really love Long White Veil as well. This track's got a little alternative country flair to it, which comes off really nicely. I love the slide guitar on this track, and the vocal performances all around are just so sunny and full of life. It doesn't take a lot, just a little bit of effort. Tracks like this, dare I say, make me look at indie folk and say, hey, you're not dead yet. Don't Go Into the Woods also, this track is really, really cool. It has a certain mystique to it once again. Much like The Reapers early on, the drama is here. That alongside of some killer pacings and some really haunting harmonies. This track is gold, baby. Yeah, they really showed up on this record, surprisingly. Dare I say they pushed themselves. Now, there are some grim reminders of where this album can quickly go. I'm looking directly at tracks like William Fitzwilliam. This to me is a grim reminder of how quickly this album can fall off the rails. I mean, it's not the worst track here, but this stripped down rustic riff and these harmonies. I just feel like we've been here so many times. Same thing on the Black Maria. Once again, it's very stripped down, it's very sweet on the ears, but I feel like we've been here. But I will say this, the worst tracks on this album are still mostly better than where they've been over the last couple of years. But I can't shake the feeling that tracks like this, we've been here before. Many, many times. And All I Want Is You, which is a single. This is my least favorite track here. It is so sleepy. It is so boring. Hearing this early on, I was just like, oh man, another one of these albums, huh? And yes, it's sweet. I'm sure it's going to be on every indie kid's wedding video this year, but it's just not for me. And America Made Me is just a little bit too light and ragtime oriented for me. Way too light on the ears. It goes over 5 minutes as well. This is the sort of quaint and bubbly track from the Decemberists I have never cared about. I do really like the horns though, but even Colin Malloy's performance on this track just gets me out of my good mood. However, the rest of this album is really not that bad. As a matter of fact, for Decemberists in 2024, it's actually pretty decent. Born in the Morning's a really interesting one. This one's a little bulkier, a little heavier, a little bluesier. That riff has got a little bite to it. It's very mid-2000s, but it's done the right way. In their own way, this is the Decemberists freaking out a little bit. And it's really not that bad. Tell Me What's on Your Mind is also really cool. I love the sort of moody, dreary lounge vibe that the band goes for here. They really do push themselves in parts. It's got the drama, it's got the mystique. I love the synths and the wailing guitars in the background. This just really works for me. Also, does Never Satisfied. Once again, it's surprisingly rugged and bluesy. It shows the band giving themselves a little room to breathe. The performances are heartfelt, it's got a little determination to it, and I would say overall, as an album, at least for me, I feel like the Decemberists are aging more gracefully here than they have on like their last 4 records. And Joan in the Garden as a finale, a single. This is a big undertaking, 19 minutes. And honestly, I'm pretty impressed by it. It takes things back to their early sort of progressive folk sound. And for a 19-minute progressive folk journey, it's actually pretty easy to swallow. And yeah, you're going to need some patience for it clearly, but the drama is immaculate. This track gets gorgeous at times. The sense of finality as well. Where has this been? And listen, I'm not going to say this track needs to be 19 minutes long. I think it's pretty cool, but the second half, which goes into everything from progressive rock to ambient to progressive synth work. I mean, it's not going to be for everyone. You can make your mind up for yourself if it needs to be there or not, but honestly, I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, overall, this record is really not that bad. I mean, my hopes were absolutely bottom of the barrel, because it's been a while since I've really loved a Decemberist record, and there's very clearly some, still some weak spots on this record still. It can get very ugly very fast, but they are aging gracefully for the first time for, I feel like, a while. They sound like they're right where they should be. They sound like they're pushing themselves just enough while giving us enough callbacks to that early sound we loved so much. And yeah, it's not bad at all. I'm feeling a decent 7 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.